Hello mortals, I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And this is a special video today because not only am I celebrating my birthday, but I have received 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. This is a big milestone for me because I am a very slow growing YouTube channel, and I honestly really do appreciate everyone who watches my videos and likes and comments, and especially everyone who comes to my live streams, because honestly that really does keep me going. As you know, I do my videos in drag and it takes a while to put on drag. But everyone that comes to my live streams and the regulars, I'm talking about Lynette and Britta and Lori and Cappuccino and Fit to Be Read, Bentheoverlord, Lori, did I say Lori, Kelly? I'm sorry if I'm missing some of you, but you guys really do keep me going because you keep me motivated, you keep on schedule, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And full disclosure, this is the second time I'm filming this video because the first time I did it, I didn't have my mic set up right and the sound got cut off. And so this look that you're seeing is not a look that I've created in a live stream, but one that I created 2 days later because I had to redo the video and I didn't want to use my camera mic because it sounds terrible and I forgot to wear earrings. So in short, this is a look that no one has seen before. For this 2,000 subscriber milestone, I thought I would do a assumptions about me, and I posted on Twitter and my community tab and on Instagram. I don't know if I've gotten many on Instagram, if any, but let me go ahead and go through these assumptions about me. First up is Connor Stompanato, who said, "Well done, thank you. I'm going to assume there's been a couple of times when you've considered giving up on BookTube." Of course, this is a question that booktubers ask each other because we know how difficult it can be to keep being motivated. It sometimes feels like you're throwing something out into the sea, hoping that someone will find it. And let's be real, the YouTube algorithm really doesn't work well for smaller channels unless you're lucky, or you have like a super personality, or you have a big Instagram following to begin with, or whatever. It's really hard to get started in YouTube, and especially the BookTube space, because we're such a niche audience, but yet it seems like there are dozens of new channels every week. So yeah, sure, I've considered giving it up. I mean, it would free up my time, I wouldn't have to get in drag once a week, but I enjoy doing it, so I just keep going. And the other thing is, I'm stubborn. I keep doing it just because I feel if I do it long enough, eventually it's going to catch on, and I guess you're stuck with me. Bentheoverlord says, "Congrats. I assume you love the holidays and that you love older pulpy fantasy." I do like the holidays. I don't know if I love the holidays. My favorite holiday is probably Halloween, and a lot of that is living in San Francisco in the Castro district and having Halloween parties. It's a big gay event in some communities, and it was in my community, and it was a lot of fun, and I'd always go out and drag, me and my husband both. And of course, some holidays, like around Christmas time, which is also the same time as my birthday, as you can tell by when I'm releasing this video, brings up a lot of memories and stress and whatever that can be stressful, but I do enjoy it. Nonetheless, I enjoy it. And when you say older pulpy fantasy, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but since I am a few years older than probably most of you reading this, I did like those huge, bulky fantasies when they first came out. The first one is Lord of the Rings, but after that, in the mid-70s, it was Sword of Shannara, followed by Stephen Donaldson. Piers Anthony put out a bunch of books. They weren't really big, pulpy fantasies, but fantasies started gaining steam, and I would always gravitate to them. But if you're talking about stories that started in the old pulp magazines, I definitely gravitated to them. Like I've talked before about Edgar Rice Burroughs, who did sort of science fantasy with his John Carter of Mars, but I also loved his Pellucidar series. And of course, Ray Bradbury, Asimov. They started in the pulp magazines. Dune by Frank Herbert started in the pulp magazines. And yes, I do enjoy them. And yes, they're even older than I am. And I know that's hard to believe. Minxlaura says, hey, well done. I assume you love Dolly Parton. Well, that's an out there question. And Minxlaura does ASMR videos, but I also believe does YouTube videos, very successful in YouTube. But I really have enjoyed seeing Dolly Parton in some movies like 9 to 5, and there are certain songs that I really like Jolene, 9 to 5, a couple of others, but I can't say I'm a big fan of her music. That said, as a human being, I think she is amazing. Dolly Parton is an amazing human being. She's always been a huge supporter of the LGBTQ community, and who else would have turned down a statue of themselves because it wasn't the right time? She is a class act. And on those grounds, I guess you can say I do love Dolly Parton. I do have an IM on Twitter from Britta Böhler. She IM'd me after I filmed my last video, so I said, oh, sorry, you missed it. But then now I'm refilming it so I can do her assumptions. And Britta Böhler has 3 assumptions about me. 1, you prefer cats over dogs. 2, you like vintage clothes. And 3, you studied English in college. Well, all of those are correct. I do prefer cats over dogs. I've always had cats, except for a brief period in college when I was in the dorms and of course couldn't have a cat. But I've seemed to always have a cat in my life, or multiple cats in my life. But I also like dogs, but I prefer cats over dogs. I guess I'm a cat lady. And I do really like vintage clothes, especially in the drag department. As you could probably tell, everything I wear looks a little vintage. And in college, I went to University of Maryland, College Park. I double majored in journalism and English literature, which is why I probably pull out these weird English lit references. But how did you know, Britta? Moving on to my community tab here on YouTube. First is CJ Harden, who said, yay, congrats. My assumption is that whoever is lucky enough to have you for a friend or neighbor is in for many very interesting conversations about books, and yes, I'm a bit jealous. Well, here's the thing, not that many people are into books as much as probably we are, and I can only think of 2 friends that we really discuss books on a semi-regular basis, and that's Sean and James. And I don't recall ever talking to a neighbor about a book, but if I do meet a neighbor where books come up, I'm sure we could have a great conversation. And I do love talking about books, even to strangers. I remember I was at a dinner party and I was seated next to this lady, and I think the host was like, oh, you both like to read. And she was a little snooty about it. But I said, oh, who's your favorite author? And she said James Michener. So then we got into a conversation about Hawaii and the Drifters and Alaska. And she did eventually loosen up through the conversation. And another friend of mine was sort of looking askance at us like, oh my gosh, that lady never really gets into conversations with people. But books can bring us together. And Fit to be Read said, congrats. Your friends, if they need help, know that you are a first go-to if they have a middle of the night emergency and they need to inconvenience someone they know will jump right in to help. Well, that is more true than you know, although I can't get into specifics, but I have gotten the midnight call before. And I think it basically comes down to the golden rule. You want to treat others like you would want to be treated. Desert Witch says, congratulations. Now it's on to 3,000. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Desert Witch. And actually my next goal, I hope, would be monetization. Because as much as I like getting all these subscribers and everything, I really wish I could be monetized to at least help pay for some of my drag so I could justify maybe getting a new wig more often. Lori Roemer says, you try to treat everyone you meet with kindness. And yeah, I think that's true. At least I try. I think that's the operative word, try. You know, sometimes people say, oh, I can't believe he's acting that way or she's acting that way because they're old enough to know better. The truth of the matter is that when your buttons can be pushed, you can behave immaturely. And maybe as you get older, it's harder to push those buttons, but if you do, you can trigger sort of a regressive action from anyone, including me. But the important part is to try. Wolfgang, Deus ex Machina, says, he has 2 questions or 2 assumptions. Knows how to have a good time and will throw heels. Now, I hope Wolfgang is a player of the game I started, Listernia Age of Ascension, where I played the goddess Istara as my sort of in-game role, and I would throw high heels at people. And if having a good time means sitting on a beach reading a book, then yep, I know how to have a good time. And one of my longtime commenters, Moonbook, has 2 assumptions. There's the answer to the first one, that you've done drag before BookTube. And yeah, I have. Like I said, I used to go out every year at Halloween in drag. And when I was in college, I would actually go to clubs in drag. But I haven't really been serious about it until I started BookTube. And Mooney's second assumption, one I don't know, you don't love historical fantasy. Well, I don't think that's true. It's just that I haven't read that much historical fantasy, but I can tell you I've recently read Gollum and the Genie, which I absolutely loved. But on the other hand, I have read Outlander, the first book, and I thought it was just okay. So it depends on the book, but I don't close my door on historical fantasy. And I wasn't sure if I got anything on Instagram, but a couple comments from The French Writer and Books with Tiffy, but they aren't assumptions, but thank you for commenting on this or anything I post. But I did get an assumption from Evilchihuahua. I love that name. And I believe this person followed me from the Las Vegas book fair interviews that I did. So that's kind of cute. But anyway, Evilchihuahua says you're intelligent. And I do think I'm intelligent. I actually know my IQ, but I am not genius level. I'm not in the 140s and above, but I do have high intelligence. So yeah. So that wraps up the assumptions about me. Once again, thank you everyone who has ever watched a video, commented, liked, went to a live stream, or even just gone to my Instagrams. Although, why would you be watching this video if you only go to Instagrams? Anyway, thank you. And like I said, I hope my next milestone will be monetization. And to help with that monetization goal, don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you aren't already, ring that notification bell, do all those things that help with the mysterious YouTube algorithm. And until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.